President Cyril Ramaphosa will sign the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill and the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Bill into law this morning. And it's in line with his stated commitment to fight corruption and gender-based violence. Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan joins me now live from the Union buildings ahead of that signing ceremony. Karinda, just share with us how the program is going to unfold. This is an important piece of legislation in a context where we are experiencing, and everybody knows this quite well, every family across the country in some way has been touched by some level of gender-based violence or knows somebody who has experienced it.
Certainly, these are two significant bills, Iman, to combat the extensive scourge of gender-based violence we've been seeing across the country and the state of corruption reports across South Africa as well. But let's start with the National Council on GBV and Femicide Bill. So this was passed in October last year, and it essentially will see the establishment of a national council. So this will be a board comprised of 13 members, majority of them women, that are expected to formulate a plan within 6 months of coming together to tackle GBV. This plan must include all stakeholders, so police, social workers, funding stakeholders and the courts as well. Because over the past year, Iman, police have reported over 19,000 arrests of alleged perpetrators of gender-based violence and sexual offences, but only 2,300 of the alleged perpetrators have been convicted. And so on the ground, families of victims of GBV have said that they want fast tracking of processes at courts related to gender-based violence matters. And of course, there's also the root issue that must be targeted essentially via social work and awareness, but mostly to get to the root cause and avoid this matter altogether from it coming to the courts altogether, essentially. So that is why this bill is critical. On the other side of this, we also will see another bill being signed. So that's the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill. And this essentially looks at changes to the NPA's investigative directorate. Now, essentially, a permanent structure will be put in place called the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, or IDAC. And it's being likened to the Scorpions, or the Directorate of Special Operations, that was disbanded back in 2009, but which focused on high-profile cases and was seen as more of an independent body at that time. And while there's criticism of how this will be implemented on the ground, the NPA has said that they need more resources. That's what this bill will essentially enact, as well as more of an independent structure to look at high-profile cases countrywide. So these are two pieces of law that's going to be signed into legislation. And today we expect, of course, the President to just shed more light. But just as you've come to us, we're seeing more guests finally come through, taking their seats. These will be guests, and we're seeing also many women as well here. So we are going to also chat to them shortly. We're seeing the NPA Shamila Bator here. In relation to these bills as well, we expect to touch on the significance of that, but more so the implementation, and also maybe chat to some of the NGOs members about the timing of the signing of this bill. So this will all start at about 10:30. We will see the program just start with an introduction, some women coming to the fore to explain why they made the call for such a bill and what they expect to see in the ground over the next few years, especially as we see this council come together. And what is significant is that 80% of this board, this National Council to tackle GBV, must be women. So that's just about 10 of the 13 members here. And we do expect some of those women to be here today. But of course, it will be an electoral process via civil society to elect these women and the majority women that must essentially lead the country to tackle gender-based violence, not just with regards to the aftermath of it, but to look at the preventative measures. So at about 10:30, we'll give you another update, and just soon as well, we'll approach some of the women here. We're seeing as well high-profile delegates that will essentially speak on these critical matters, as we have been seeing over the years, the scourge of gender-based violence and the scourge of corruption within high-profile government spheres.
Yeah, two big things, Karinda, that are going to be dealt with today. It'd be lovely to hear exactly what the NPA chief has to say there, or the NDPP has to say. And we know historically the Scorpions lauded for their high conviction rate, also their ability to be independent in a way that the Hawks weren't able to be, according to some of the analysts, and creating more of that alignment between the work that they would do and the work of the NPA. So we'll see how it all unfolds as this bill then becomes signed into law. In line, again, as we say, with the President's commitment to fight corruption and gender-based violence. President Ramaphosa signing the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill and the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Bill. Karinda, Jagmohan there.